People always ask me, what's the best diet for fat loss? Or what's the best diet for muscle gain? And what you have to understand is that the best diet is not following a diet at all. The best diet is understanding how your body processes food, how energy balance works, and what macros actually do, so that you can make informed decisions based on your goals and how you want to feel. Because when you're spending more time researching supplements, morning routines, and jumping between diets than you spend actually learning how to understand these fundamentals, you're going to keep gaining and losing the same weight year after year. And so today I'm going to teach you the complete foundation of nutrition, what macros are, how they work in your body, how to calculate exactly what you need, and how to test and adjust those numbers to get predictable results over the long term. This is step one of the complete system that I teach, and by the time we're done, you'll understand exactly why every diet works or fails. So let's start with energy balance, because this determines everything. Your body weight changes based on energy in versus energy out. If you consume more calories than you burn, you gain weight. If you burn more calories than you eat, you lose weight. This is called being in a calorie surplus or calorie deficit. One pound of body fat equals 3,500 calories. If you're in a 500 calorie deficit every day for a week, you'll lose about a pound. And so what's important to understand here is that your body is constantly adapting to protect itself. It's not a calculator that just burns the same amount every day. It's a dynamic system that adjusts based upon what you feed it and how you move. Now, instead of focusing on restriction like every other diet tells you to do, what I want you to understand is that performance optimization beats restriction every single time. When you fuel your body for performance, you maintain muscle, you keep your metabolism high, and you actually enjoy the process. When you restrict too hard, your body fights back, your metabolism slows, and you end up right back where you started. And so let's talk about the 3 macronutrients and what they actually do in your body. First, and probably the most important, is protein. 1 gram of protein gives you 4 calories. Protein is the building material for everything in your body. Your muscles, your organs, your enzymes, your hormones, they're all made from amino acids that come from protein. And so when you don't eat enough protein, your body has 2 choices. It either stops building and repairing tissue, which means you feel weak and you recover slowly, or it breaks down your existing muscle to get the amino acids it needs for survival. Neither of those options is good for your metabolism or your results. This is why it's so important to make sure that you're consuming enough protein every day. And the other thing that's important to know is that protein also has the highest thermic effect of any macronutrient, meaning your body burns 20 to 30% of protein calories by just digesting it. So if you eat 200 grams of protein at 4 calories per gram, that's 800 calories. But your body burns 160 to 240 of those calories just processing it. That's free caloric burn just from choosing the right foods. Protein also keeps you full for longer than any other macro. It increases hormones like CCK and GLP-1 that actually tell your brain that you're full. This is exactly why high protein diets work so well for fat loss. Now, let's talk about carbohydrates. 1 gram of carbs also gives you 4 calories. And carbs are not the enemy that everyone makes them out to be. Your brain runs almost exclusively on glucose. Your muscles store carbs as glycogen for explosive movement and performance. When you cut them too low, you're not just losing energy for your workouts, you're actually impairing your ability to think clearly, handle stress, and produce the hormones that keep you healthy. Your thyroid needs carbs to produce T3, which is the hormone that controls your metabolic rate. And so when you go too low on carbs for too long, your metabolism actually slows down to protect you. Now, the type of carbs actually do matter. Complex carbs with fiber will actually slow down absorption and keep you fuller for longer, while simple carbs without fiber spike your blood sugar and leave you hungry an hour later. That doesn't mean that simple carbs are bad, that just means they both have their place depending upon your goals and the timing that you eat them, which we'll talk about later. Now, the last macronutrient is fats. and 1 gram of fat gives you 9 calories. So this is more than twice as much as the other macros. And so it's really easy to overconsume calories when you're eating high-fat foods, even the healthy ones. But fats aren't just about calories. They're essential for producing hormones like testosterone, estrogen, and every other hormone that makes you function like a normal person. They help you absorb vitamins A, D, E, and K, which are all absolutely necessary to optimize the way that you perform and feel. And they're actually necessary in your diet in order for you to optimize your performance the best way. And that's why it's important to understand that when you drop your fats too low trying to cut calories, there's potential that you're going to negatively impact your hormone production. And when your hormones tank, everything else falls apart. Now, what's really interesting about fats is that they're actually the least filling macro per calorie. So while protein keeps you satisfied for hours, fats can leave you hungry even after eating a lot of calories. This is why balance matters. Okay, so now that you understand what each macro does, let me show you how to calculate what you actually need. But first, you need to understand something about your metabolism. It's not just a single number like the calculators make it seem. Your total daily energy expenditure, or TDEE, is actually several components working together. First, you have your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR, and that's just a fancy term that represents the calories you burn just existing. Then, you also have your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT. This is all of the movement that isn't formal exercise. Things like moving around throughout the day, walking, doing chores, breathing. The third thing that makes up your TDEE is your exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's basically just the calories that you burn from exercise, working out in the gym, going for a run. And then the last part of your TDEE is what we call the thermic effect of food. This is kind of what we talked about with protein earlier, which is basically the cost of digesting the foods that you consume. And all of these numbers are going to be constantly adapting and changing based upon what you eat and how you move. When you're in a calorie deficit for too long, your NEAT can actually drop by 200, 300 calories without you even knowing it. You fidget less, you move less, and unconsciously, you're going to choose easier options for managing or preserving energy. This passively lowers your daily energy expenditure. And so trying to calculate all of these numbers on a constant basis is going to get really complicated really fast. And that's exactly why I want to show you a simple way to figure out your starting point without getting lost in all the technical details. And so for protein, your absolute minimum to prevent muscle loss is 0.7 to 0.8 grams per pound of lean body mass, not total body weight, lean body mass. So if you're 200 pounds at 20% body fat, you have 160 pounds of lean mass. Your minimum protein to protect muscle would be 128 grams per day. Keep in mind, that's the minimum. But here's the thing. Most people don't accurately know their body fat percentage, and calculating from lean mass leaves no buffer for error. So the way that I do it and the way that most people do it is I have everyone shoot for 1 gram per pound of total body weight. That same 200-pound person would eat 200 grams of protein. It's simple, it's protective, and it ensures you're always above that minimum threshold. For fats, never go below 0.3 grams per pound of body weight. That's your hormone protection threshold. Below that, your testosterone and other hormones will start to crash. But again, I keep most people at 0.4 to 0.5 grams per pound because they feel better, they perform better, and they actually stick to the plan when they're not constantly fighting hunger. So our 200-pound person would eat between 80 and 100 grams of fat per day. For carbs, that's where we have flexibility based upon your activity level and based upon your goals. And this is the main variable that you're going to be adjusting when you're optimizing your diet for performance. If you're sedentary and your goal is to lose fat, you might do well on 0.5 gram per pound of carbs. If you're moderately active, maintaining weight, aim for 1 gram per pound. And if you're training hard and trying to build muscle, you might need as much as 1.5 to 2 grams per pound of carbs. So our 200-pound person trying to lose fat would start with 100 grams of carbs. If they're maintaining, 200 grams would probably be fine. And then if their focus is to build and grow, they're going to eat as many as 300 to 400 grams of carbs per day. Now, here's what nobody talks about. These calculations from any calculator or formula, they're just educated guesses. These are starting points, not final answers. Your actual maintenance calories and macro needs are discovered through testing. And so the way that I do it with my clients is we take those starting numbers and we eat them consistently for 14 days. Not 10, not a week, 14 days on track, the same food. During that process, you're going to track your daily weight at the same time each morning. You track your total calories and protein intake. You track your energy levels and workout performance. Then, after that 14 days, you compare your average weight from week 1 to the average weight from the end of week 2. If you lost a half a pound per week, you were in roughly a 250 calorie deficit. And if you gained a half a pound, you were in roughly a 250 calorie surplus. The math here is pretty simple because 1 pound equals 3,500 calories. And so you just keep adjusting by 10% week after week until your weight stays stable within a pound or two over 2 weeks. That's your true maintenance. Not what the calculator said, what you actually tested and measured. And so when it comes to making adjustments, here's exactly how you do it. If you're losing weight too fast, more than 2 pounds per week, you probably should add 10% to your daily calories. This is going to help to prevent metabolic resistance and make sure that we're prioritizing your performance and how you feel. If you're not losing and you want to, just subtract 10%. Only make one adjustment at a time and stick with it for at least 2 weeks before changing again. And keep in mind that the priority is always protein first. Then make sure you hit your fat minimum for hormone health, and carbs are what you're going to adjust up or down based on your goals and your performance. And so the system is simple. Test for 14 days, measure your average weight, adjust by 10%, and repeat that until you find what works for your body, not what works for someone else on Instagram, not what works for your friend, what works for you. Now, before we wrap up, there are 2 things that make all of this work that people forget about. First, you need to be lifting weights. I don't care if your goal is fat loss or muscle gain. It's not unrealistic to get into the gym at least 2 to 3 days per week. Weight training preserves muscle mass when you're in a deficit, and it builds it when you're in a surplus. And without it, you're going to lose muscle along with fat, and your metabolism is going to tank. Second, you need to be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. This is when your body produces testosterone, growth hormone, and repairs tissue. You can have perfect macros, but if you're not sleeping enough, you're actually sabotaging your results. These 2 things aren't optional. They're requirements for this system to work. And so look, this video is actually just step 1 of the entire nutrition system that I teach my private clients. And if you want to implement it with accountability and support for absolutely free, there's actually a link to my free school community in the description below. You'll get direct access to ask questions about your specific situation and connect with thousands of men who are using these exact principles to get results. If you want to join, the link can be found in the description. And stay tuned for my next video where I'm going to be going deeper and helping you to understand why hydration is going to have such a huge impact on the results you see and what you need to be doing with your water so that you can get the maximum results possible and feel and perform your best. Thank you for tuning in. And if you have questions or need help, make sure you drop them in the comments below. My goal is to give you content that serves your goals the best way possible.